Hey, folks, and welcome to another episode of Reaction Bite Radio. Your host, Kevin Postwaite, and your co-host,
Julie Price.
We are here once again with our good friend Ed Powell, Opens Angler, fresh off a very good turnout at Lake Norman in North Carolina, and a little removed from the Eufala event, but we're going to talk about both those events this evening and see what Ed's been up to and how things are going, and a little bit of the bad and the good, or the good and the bad of your Opens adventure so far this year. So, Ed, how you doing?
Wait.
Great.
This might turn into two episodes.
It could turn into two episodes.
If we're going to talk about Eufala and Norman separately.
Yep. So if we don't get through it, stay tuned for episode 2.
Okay. Ed, how are you?
Great. We do like to talk about fishing and life in general. Doing great. Again, blessed to be here. Blessed to be able to do what I've been able to do. Fishing the Opens has been a great experience. I've been able to take more time to prepare this year and really pre-practice and just really maximize the efficiency of my practice because of the pre-practice that I've had. I've got to spend a lot of time through the winter working on my electronics and working on just, general fishing skills all winter so that I don't get rusty. Seems to be paying off. Yes, it's blessed to be able to do this.
Well, we're all definitely follow you whenever you're out and about on these things. It's funny because everybody I know, the fishing community is small, but everybody lives and dies by what happens on the water with you. So it's always, if you're struggling a little bit, or it looks like you are, everybody here is struggling. And then if you're doing well, everybody here is pepped up and cheering and sending texts back and forth and messages. So understand you have a lot of support back home, and I know you know that, but everybody here is cheering for you and just very excited. And I know that every episode we have with you gets a lot of views. A lot of people want to hear how it's going. So we'll jump right into, you were going to Eufala the last time we talked, or getting ready for Eufala. I know that didn't turn out the way you had hoped, but clearly you rebounded from that well because you did well at Norman. Walk us through that a little bit. One, Lake Eufala, that I'm really curious about. For those of us that fish locally, a bad tournament really messes with you. So how do you clear that out of your head and reset and focus on the next one? Because I think that's something that's important to be able to do.
Yes. Yeah. And I'll kind of start with Eufala. And I love Lake Eufala. I still love it. Every time I've been there, I've caught giant fish. I've caught big fish. I've caught a lot of fish. It's great. Man, we timed it up perfect for the spawn. I love bed fishing. Not much else in this world that I like more than bed fishing. Found some fish early in practice, knew that was, how I wanted to spend my practice was to look for them with my eyes. It was a forward-facing event, so we could use forward-facing. During my pre-practice, I went down and I marked, I think, around 150 brush piles that fish should be set up on pre-spawn, post-spawn. I didn't even feel like I needed to go practice that if I could find bed fish. And if I needed to abandon the shallow pattern and go hit brush piles, I had enough confidence from my pre-practice that I could go out and do that with my live scope and still be competitive. Ended up 3 days of practice. It was mixed as far as conditions. I mean, there was some rain, there was some wind, but all in all, I found 49 fish on beds that I marked that, were pretty locked on beds. And 49 is a lot, even with the 200 boat field. Follows a big lake, fish is pretty good size, 200 boats, but still, not only did I find 49, but 29 of them I had marked as over 3 pounds. So I went into this tournament really expecting a top 10. I'd made the comment to some people that 15 a day would be a bad day, and I really expected that if things went good, and I'm not talking about get lucky good. We all know the difference between things going good and getting lucky, and just crazy good things happen, and then just good as in, okay, I have 29 3-pounders marked. I can go catch 5 of them in 8 hours. And if I can catch 10 of them in 8 hours, then, that's a good day. It's not a great day. It's not like good luck. Good is all the 3-pounders that you had marked were males, and now 5-pound females pull up on them. I didn't need that, which was a distinct possibility with the full moon, but all I needed was to just go catch the fish that I found. 17 and a half a day was kind of just eh with what I had found in practice. I went in, I had trouble sleeping the night before. It was one of those, gosh, and the weather, I mean, just everything pointed. Not only did I find what I found, I felt like almost all the fish that I found were big males. The full moon was the first day of the tournament. We had a warming trend up to it, and everything in the book says that the big one should be coming to me. Being a forward facing event, there weren't a lot of people up looking. Just to be honest, I mean, there were not a lot of people up looking. Most of the guys were out concentrating. Eufala, the spawn happens in the upper end of the lake first. I'm going to say the lake's 30 miles. If you include the river, up to 50 miles that you can run of lake. Don't hold me to that. I didn't measure it, but I'm going to say there's 50 miles of lake. And the spawn happens in the upper end in mid March, even early March. And then there were a lot of pre-spawn fish down by the dam, and I was kind of lower middle part of the lake is where I was planning on doing my damage. So, gosh, I'm pumped. I mean, I'm literally talking about day 3, making sure I've got the lodging and the game plan to be able to stay, because a lot of times you don't necessarily plan on day 3. You just kind of figure you'll figure it out if you make it. But I'm excited. I also found a shad spawn on day 2 of practice. I would look in the morning for a shad spawn. Day 2, I found one. Third cast, I caught a 4.2, left. Was excited about that. I thought, especially if I can start and eat, perfect world, you go catch 17, 18, 20 pounds of shad spawn fish and go look for more, right? Day 1 comes, I take off, I get to my shad spawn spot. There's no one on it. I pull in there, no shad. I don't know. You follow, we had an off day, so I don't know. It's just one of those things that happen in fishing, right? Shad spawn's gone. I go ahead and spend 20 or 30 minutes swimming a jig around the grass that where they were, just to make sure. I'm not an expert shad spawn fisherman. I've ran into a few of them and it can be glorious, but I spent about a half an hour, 45 minutes there, and just didn't work. So the first fish I wanted to go to, I knew I had 5 fish marked that were over 4 pounds. I thought they were catchable, but I didn't think they would be easy to catch. So I wanted to get some fish in the boat. So the first one that I went to in practice, it was 3 or 4 flips and it was nosing down on my bait. And once I find a fish in practice, I will usually make a few flips at it, no more than 5 or 10 minutes without a hook or with a hook covered so that, it's impossible to hook the fish. But I'll make a few flips to gauge the mood. And I told you earlier that there's very few things I'd rather do in the world than bedfish, and I have spent an uncountable amount of hours studying and learning how to bedfish. It takes some time, and the more you do it, the better you get at it. And as far as being able to read a fish's mood and know whether or not you can catch that fish or how long it's going to catch that fish, or whether to just go on. But I knew in practice that this was a 5-minute fish, and I wanted to get some fish in the boat before I went to try to go get the 4 pluses. So I pull up to this fish, and early morning, I can see it, but not great. I get the boat set up where I'm in pretty good shape. I start flipping into the fish, and he's acting right, just like in practice. Within 5 minutes, I've got him nipping at my bait. An hour and 40 minutes later, the fish literally grabs my bait up to my hook, never gets the hook at least 30 times. An hour and 45 minutes later, I catch this fish.
Wow.
And it's like, just wow, because that should not have, I mean, it's one of the weirdest bedfish I've ever fished for. On a positive note, that fish in my mind, and even watching it as I'm fishing for it, I'm thinking it's 3.25, maybe 3.5. I get in the boat and it's like a 3-pound, 13-ouncer. So
Nice.
I'm extremely excited now because I have
Yeah.
28 more fish just like this. And I was thinking they're 3.25. So that means I've got some 4s that I have marked as 3s. I know that I do. And all of them are probably over 3.5. And a lot of the ones I have marked as 2s are probably 3s. So that's the positive of me only having 1 fish at 10 o'clock when I should already have a limit. So I move on to my second fish, and it's just not acting right. It's I mean, just acting crazy. So I just start moving through my rotation. I'm trying to play it back here. I caught that first one, took me way too long. I probably go through 5 to 7 fish that just
Huh.
aren't acting right. Some of them are gone, and that happens.
Right.
Um, Sometimes they just disappear. They're not locked on. They are locked on. People catch them in practice. By 10 o'clock, people have already caught some off beds. But again, there's not a lot of people in there doing what I'm doing, so that gives me hope. I end up going into a pocket that had one big one, but there were like 5 fish in this tiny little pocket. There are 5 fish I can fish for without really lifting my power poles up. So I get back in that pocket, and of course, I start on the bigger one. I catch it, and it was just under 3. Caught it pretty quick. And the rest of the fish in that pocket, I didn't even think I would really need, but I thought, well, I'm here. So I go to the next one and hook it on like the third flip. Hook it and lose it. I spend 2 more minutes on it and I catch it, get it in the boat, and I measure this fish, and it's 14, as close to 15 inches as you can possibly get without being 15 inches.
Huh.
And it was so close, and we probably all done that where, I can get it to touch if I work really hard. And
Right.
I thought, I'll put it in a live well. And I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not. Because if I have this fish at the end of the day, it doesn't matter anyway, right? We're at Lake Eufala. So I throw it back. Again, thinking, at 11:30, I I'm gonna have a limit. I had too many fish marked to not catch the limit. So I throw it back. I'm gonna go ahead and jump to the end of the day. A couple guys that I'd run into on the water had made some comments that led me to believe that it was a 14-inch limit, not a 15-inch limit. So I
Oh.
pulled the rules up on my phone, and it was a 14-inch limit. So I threw
Oh,
back
Oh
a
gosh.
fish that
no.
was an inch over the minimum size
Oh
limit
man.
that probably weighed, if a
Yeah.
15-inch largemouth wasn't spawned out skinny,
Right.
it was a solid pound and a half, pound three
Yeah.
quarter fish.
Yeah. Oh.
So I run through my rotation of fish and I get through all 39 of them,
Oh.
49 of them actually. And I have 4
Oh.
and the day is pretty well over. Um, I had a few left that in my mind at this point still it's 15-inch limit, and I knew they weren't 15. They were 14, but I didn't even
Yeah.
go to them. So I actually went out. I thought, you know what? I've got an hour and a half left. I'm going to run up to the ramp. I've got some really good brush up there. I'm going to fish it. I go up, hit a couple brush piles. I pull up on a brush pile that Logan actually gave me before it went off limits. I caught a 5 pound, 14 ouncer off of this brush pile in pre practice. Logan has caught multiple 4.5 5s off of this brush pile. It's just a big fish brush pile.
Mhm.
And it sets up right. It's on a big flat in about 8 feet of water. It's kind of in between 2 big spawning bays on this flat, not quite to the river channel, but it's the exact type of brush pile that Pake South won on. I'm
Yeah.
not going to say he didn't even hit this brush pile. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I pull up to it in about fifth cast. I'm dragging a jig through it and it kind of comes through it and you feel it pop off. And then it just, that bite feeling that you
Yeah.
can't miss. And I reel down and I load up on this fish and I've got him and he feels good. And about a half a second, I have him on and just comes
Mm.
unbuttoned. And it's one of those, it's
Uh,
like, why? You
yeah.
always, when you lose fish, at least I do, I always, what could I have done different? And it's one of those
Right.
situations where, and sometimes they bite when you're at the end of your drag or,
Uh-huh.
just different things. And, man, I should have let him bite it a little bit longer. He didn't feel like it, but I don't know. Lost him. Is what it is. That's fishing. Everybody in the tournament could say, they lost a fish that
Mm.
could have been a 10-incher. I don't know. It didn't feel like 10-incher, but end up going back to weigh in. And it was literally after I lost that fish. And there's 15 minutes, and I realized that I was only going to take 4 back. That playing the day back through my head as you're idling in, and I'm like, surely not. So I get my phone out and I look and I'm like, oh, you dummy. And
Uh,
that's when I realized at that point that I threw back my 5th keeper of the day.
yeah.
Um, and
Mm.
again, I feel like I had close to 12 pounds with 4. And
Yeah.
That's
that's
just
that's a
heartbreaking.
pretty decent average.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm still in it because I really felt like even with all my bed fish gone, and I'll get kind of back to that. Even with all my bed fish gone, I really felt like I'd go catch 20 pounds the next day because a lot of them were still there. I saw some big females that were hanging around. I just really felt like I could go catch 20 the next day and
Yeah.
still have a really good finish, or even who knows. But is what it is. So I'm trying to decide. I'm there night before trying to game plan for day two, and I've got options. I didn't feel like the shad spawn was a viable option anymore, but I did feel like I could go live scope brush piles and catch fish. Felt like I could catch 10 or 12 that way, but I didn't know if I could catch what I needed to really have a good finish. So talked it over with another competitor, and he's like, man, if you know that those big ones are still swimming around out there, we kind of agreed instead of hunkering down on them and fishing them like bedfish, because what had happened, and it took me till halfway through the day to actually figure it out. What had happened is from the end of practice until the first day of the tournament, there was an off day. The lake dropped about 18 inches.
Mm.
It did not hit me until it was too late. And when you have fish that are spawning in 3 foot of water, when they built that bed, they
Yeah.
wanted to be in 3 foot of water, right?
Right.
That's where
Yeah.
they wanted to be. That's where they were comfortable. That's where they were catchable. Those fish that I found. So when that water drops 18 inches, now those fish that want 3 foot of water over their back, or 2.5 feet of water over their back, or whatever, are now out of their comfort zone. That's why it took an hour and 40 minutes to catch that fish. That's why a lot of my fish were gone. And they weren't gone. They were off their beds out at the edge of the grass line, and they may swim back up there, but anyone who's done a lot of bed fishing, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Those fish just went from being a sure thing to being, I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
so with that in mind, my game plan was to, I've got all these really nice fish. They were bigger than I even thought they were. I know that if I can catch 5 of the fish that I go after, 5 of the 20 that I know where they're at, if I can catch 5 of them, it's 17 to 20 pounds, and probably not going to make day three with 12 on day one, but I'm cashing a check if I can get 20. If possibly with 17, I cash a check. So that was what I decided to do. I'm going to go stay off of these fish. Again, I'd seen a couple like 6+ females that had kind of moved up around some of the males. So I was going to stay off. I'm going to make long casts to the edge of the grass where these fish are hanging out and see how it plays. So I go to my first fish, where I'd seen a big one, had a 3.5 kind of on a bed, had a 6+ that was roaming around. Spend about 15 minutes long casting. I creep in on it. I see it. It's the same thing, just acting crazy. I take about 10 or 15 minutes. Can't catch it. I fish around that little pond with a wacky rig, just nothing.
Mm.
So I go to my second one, and kind of a funny story. Jonathan Kelly, and I don't know if any of you, Jonathan Kelly was on the elites for 3 years. He qualified through the Open, was on the elites 3 years, had a couple bad years, ended up back in the Opens, no longer on the elites. Um,
Huh.
he posted a video, and he's having a pretty good season so far, but he posted a video of falling in on day two, trying to fish for a fish. Well,
Yeah.
I had that same fish marked, and not only does it show him falling in, and I'm like, that looks like such and such cove where I had that fish, but his camera shows his fish finder screen, and I'm like, yeah, that's 100% he's set up on that big one. So it was kind of cool. But that's the second fish I go to, is the one he was fishing for when he fell in. So I get up there, and it was one of the ones I had marked as a 4, not as a 3, and it was still around. So I make a long cast to it, about as long as I can make with spinning reel, to try to keep from spooking it. And a lot of times you can catch them that way on a wacky rig, or I'll get to something else that might be able to catch them later. Uh, but a lot of times you can catch those fish that way. So I make that long cast at that fish, and I kind of start to pull up a little bit, and he's swimming with it, and I'm like, all right. So I reel down, I let him have it, and it's a good one. It's heavy. It's pull and drag,
Huh.
and it jumps out there at the end of my line on a spinning rod with a wacky rig hook and a Senko, and it's about a 3.5, 4 pounder, and my Senko comes flying back at me.
Oh,
All right. Again, if you've made long casts with a Senko and a wacky rig, you're going to lose some fish. I mean, it is what it
Yeah.
is. But it's still early, and I thought, I can do this. So I had one other fish in that pocket. As a matter of fact, those two fish were about 50 yards apart. I go to the other one. It was kind of at the corner of a dock. I made a cast at the corner of the dock. It picks it up and starts swimming with it. And I set the hook, and I've got it, and it doesn't jump, but I had it for like 3 seconds, and it gets off. And I'm like, crap. And you start reminding yourself, just thankful to be here. But to be able to do this, you start taking those preventative measures that spin you out. So I'm like, okay, I fish around a little bit. I look for those fish and I can't see them. So I run to another fish. There's a little pocket that had one that was on the upper side of 3 pounds in the back of it. And then it had a 2 pounder that I really thought I could catch on the right side. So I make a long cast at both of them and I don't do any good. I see the 3 pounder and he's still, I think someone caught him. I could see a place on his face. I think someone had caught him. Is why he was so spooky on top of the water dropping. The 2 pounder that I thought I could catch, I'm looking really hard for it to see if it's still there because I thought maybe calm down a little bit, but I don't see it. I just happened to look down, like almost right under the boat, and there's a fresh one, like just moved up there, and it's literally right off the side of the boat. And I've got a jig on now. I just take my jig and I literally like drop it down over the side of the boat, almost just straight down on top of it. And it swims over there and noses down. It kind of, is doing that. They kind of quiver right before they bite. And I thought, that stupid fish is just going to eat it. And it swims around real fast and it kind of stops. And I can tell the boat's making it nervous. And the last thing you want to do, in my opinion, is hit your trolling motor when you're that close to a fish. I mean, you're better off to like beat him with the net than to hit the trolling motor. So I grab my push pole and I kind of push back off of it just a little bit. And he's comfortable because he just made his bed with the water. And I flipped that jig in there and didn't even make a great cast. And he swims like 1.5 foot over and just eats it. And it's 3 3/4. So I'm like, okay, we're back in business. So I start to sell my other fish. Same thing. I run across another fresh one, and it's really really hard to see. It's deep. The water's a little murky. But it's a fresh one, and it's another solid 3.5, 3 3/4 fish, and it's not real scared of the boat. I feel confident about it, and I flip that jig out there, and it's right in the middle of some weeds, and it's hard to see. And the jig hits, and I start pulling it back, and I'm like, "Crap! I'm in some weeds." I'm like trying to shake it and try to get it off the weeds, and all of a sudden I see that fish swimming at me, and I'm like, "Oh crap! I scared him." And I'm literally looking at that fish swimming at me, and I see it spit my jig out of its mouth, and
oh,
I'm just like, "Did that just really happen? That fish bit on the first flip?" And I'm trying to shake it off because I think it's weeds. And like, yeah, it did. So,
Mm,
I think most of the time though, if they'll bite that fast, they'll bite again, right?
mhm. Right.
No. 45 minutes later, I finally am just like, the wind changed. I mean, no matter what I did with my power poles or my boat, I could not get it positioned right. There's jet skis running by right behind me. It just, uh, I'm not gonna lie, I may have thrown just a tiny temper tantrum at this point because it's just like, it's like just God, just give me a break, please. Just let me, just let the jet ski stop, let the wind stop, let me not shake off a 4 pounder. Just give me a break. And he said no. Um,
but did you
so
threaten to set your boat and all your fishing poles on fire?
not this time, but I have done similar things. I'm not gonna lie. Um, Not this time. This was a tiny fit. This was a feel sorry for yourself, just why do you
Yeah.
hate me, God type of thing that
Yeah.
lasted
And up and
less
up in
than
your
10
feelings
minutes.
kind of fit. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, really just feeling
Yeah.
sorry for yourself because you suck at fishing at the time, right?
Yeah.
So I go on around and I go back into a cove that I had like 7 fish marked in. There was a few left from the day before, and making long casts at these, and I see one. It has turned into a fry garter. I can actually see the fry. Um, that's a whole different ball game. It and there are different levels of fry garters too. This one, the fry just hatched, and I don't want to get too into the stages of bed fishing, but I know that I can catch this fish, but it might take a little bit of time. So I end up spending about 45 minutes on it, and I finally catch it, and it's another 3 3/4. Um, Bit 4 times before I actually caught it. Actually had it hooked one of the 4 times that it bit, and but finally caught it. So now I've got 2, but the problem is it's like 12:30. Again, I've lost one really big one pretty big one, and shook off one that was definitely over 3.5. And I've got 2. And it's like, gosh, okay. So I end up running through the rest of my fish. I had a bunch of fish on the other side of the lake. I go over there. One of my big ones over there, make long casts at it, nothing. I basically spend the rest of the day just fishing for those fish. Even if I had kind of quit earlier and just went and fished the brush piles, I probably could have salvaged enough for a good finish. I got just enough feedback. I got just enough and they were big ones. That's what kills you is
Right.
you are that close. And that's where I was at. When you're that close to having it took 17, I think there was 33-15 made the day 3 cut. So 17 and a half a day would have got me into day 3. That's where the cut line was at. 17 and a half a day. And I'm literally that close. That's me and my buddy Randy Huffman. We've talked
Yeah.
about this, that, that's the difference between a local derby, even these regional tournaments and the opens. When you miss by that much in your local derby, you may drop from a top 10 finish or top 3 finish to 20th, just outside of the check line. Even in these divisionals like at Cherokee, you have the guys that caught them, and
Yeah.
then it usually drops way off, and you have a group of guys who caught them all right but never really caught them. And then you
Right.
have a group of guys who just didn't catch them. When you get to the opens level, everybody catches them.
Yeah.
Everybody may not catch them good, but missing by that much and making that wrong decision literally can take you from a top 10, which again was around the fish, had the fish on, threw back the fish that would have given me a check, a top 20, possibly a top 10 finish. If everything goes right, it's a top 10 finish. If everything doesn't go wrong, it's a top 50 finish to 122nd place.
Yeah.
So, that's the game we play. And that's one of the biggest differences between the divisionals, the local tournaments, the big local tournaments. And I'm telling you, at that level, there's not very many guys who can't just catch them.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Well, they're not spending the money to go do it if they don't think they can catch them, you know? So
exactly.
not only can they catch them, but they're pretty confident they can catch them. And,
Yes.
confidence in fishing is a big deal.
How sorry for yourself did you feel on the way home?
And this is the thing about me. I can get really mad really fast, and there are a lot of people out there who can vouch for that. But I also get over it really fast. I went into this whole process. I think I talked about this on the first podcast that I went into this whole process with zero expectations of doing well. I wanted to just go. I wanted to see where I would stack up if I put the time in, which again, blessed to be able to do. If I put the time in and did everything that I could do to compete at this level, where I stood. So my past experiences, when I haven't been able to do that, I'm a middle to bottom of the pack guy, just to be completely honest. So that's where my former results have been. That's where my expectations are at. After the Kissimmee tournament, this was a little more what I was used to. And still, 122nd sounds like a horrible finish. Out of 190,
200. Yeah. I was going to say
yeah,
200 boat field, you
you're
know?
still you're still middle of the pack at the end of the day. Here's what I take from it on the drive home to keep from feeling sorry for myself and being upset. The guys who were down there fishing around me, Harry Scroggins, Prince, Baker Howe, Fred Rumbanis was up the river. Brett Height, these guys who have literally done this for a living their whole life. Most of you who are watching this podcast know those names. They didn't adjust any better than I did. As a matter of fact, all of those guys that I mentioned, all those former Elite Series guys, former, MLF pro fishermen that have done this for a living, finished right where I did or below. So again, you start second guessing yourself, man, I can't do this. I should have adjusted. I should have done this. I should have done that. That's the difference between me and them. Well, yes and no, because a lot of those guys fell into that same trap I did and ended up, their names were right on the list, right around mine. So,
But if you think about that too, if you hit, you're in a top 10. Same thing for them. I mean,
yes,
they had different variations of something like that going on that just didn't play out for them. Maybe it was the water condition, maybe their fish left, something like that. But they're right there too, so they're making those same decisions and the same, call it bad luck or whatever. Changing conditions happen and they miss. And it's not necessarily anything that you can control other than pulling it out of his mouth and stuff like that. But
and throwing back keepers.
throwing back keepers, that hurts. But
I have a couple of things to interject here. First of all, at some point, I don't know if it's going to be during this conversation, I want to hear about these different levels of fry garters because I'm not at all familiar. It sounds like a video game. And second, I have never fished bedding fish. And I had an incident in Cherokee where I wish to God I knew how to fish bedding fish because I kept feeling fish move my bait off their bed. I knew that. But I was making the mistake of pausing to let them eat it. And then they were just dropping it. And then later I'm telling Kevin about it and he's like, no, as soon as you feel that, you've got to set the hook, which was way too late. But the last time it happened, right at the end of the day, I was like, I just felt another fish move my bait off its bed. And my bear was like, oh, really? Like he didn't believe me. And about that time, a 5-pounder jumped, like that I had disturbed. And I was like, okay, I'm done. Let's go. But anyway, I need some information about how to catch bedfish, but
I can talk for hours about bed fishing. In fishing, there are just so many things that you can never stop learning about it. I learned ways to catch. I mean, again, I'm going to say literally thousands of hours spent studying, catching bedded fish, fishing for them, taking notes, video, just everything. I still learned some things after the Eufala tournament. I went to Smith Mountain the weekend before Lake Norman just to mess around and practice some stuff, and figured out a way to catch some of those fry garters. If I had known what I figured out at Smith Mountain at Eufala, I probably would have been able to catch. I can think of 3 of them right off the bat that I probably would have caught had I known, because, those 3 fish were acting the same way as the fish that I was catching at Smith Mountain. And it's like, would have been nice to know 2 weeks ago. And it's just constantly learning. And the fish, for lack of better terms, the fish evolve. I don't want to get too in depth into this part of it. I've spent way too much time in my life studying fish. uh, I've built beds in my pond so that I can watch how they spawn and just different things, and monitor them for longer periods of time and how they act, to having fish in an aquarium and throwing different baits at them and seeing how they react to different baits and different things. But I can talk about this stuff forever, and we don't have enough time if we're going to talk about Lake Norman.
oh, yeah, we're going to have to decide if we're talking about Lake Norman tonight or we're going to do another night.
Yes.
I don't want to rush you, and I don't want.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this. We'll probably break it up into 2 because I have questions about
I don't want
the time between Eufala and Norman.
Okay, and we'll just roll with it. As far as I'm concerned, we'll just roll with it. when we
Yeah.
get tired of talking, if we're not done,
Yeah.
we'll do this again.
Works for
Yeah,
me.
I don't think it's going to be tired of talking. I just know Kevin and I both got up at 4:30 this morning.
that makes 3 of us.
Oh,
Okay.
there you go.
Well, you don't
Yeah.
get tired though. So we do. We sleep, Ed.
It's a machine.
Sissies. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah,
It's
Kevin
true.
told me the other day I used to be tougher. I was so mad because it's true.
She was mad all.
I'm
She was mad
still
at me all
mad.
day.
I'm still mad
Yeah.
because the truth hurts. It's one of those things.
Um, yeah, but and that's how it ends. And I mean, again, that's fishing. I'm not making any excuses because I guarantee you that
Mhm.
every single person who were in the triple digit club with me have the same stories of fish they lost. And at the end of the day, that's fishing. You can figure them out. And especially at that level, you can figure them out and still finish 122nd if things don't go right. It's just fishing. It's not excuses. Um,
That's what they talk about when they talk about fishing clean,
Yes.
Um, Julie and I talked about this recently because I was like, you need to fish clean. And
After
she's
Cherokee.
after Cherokee.
Because I should have made day 3.
Yeah.
I had the fish on. I had opportunities and I lost them.
And I said, you gotta fish clean. That's just part of, and sometimes that's like not losing the one at the end of the cast. It goes both ways when you're throwing those wacky rig Senkos too, right? I mean, there's some fish that they couldn't get off if you tried, and
Those
there's
are my
other ones,
favorites.
but then there's other ones that you can't keep on no matter what you do. And a lot of it's the way whatever stick bait you're throwing or whatever it is you've got wacky rigged, it'll ball up. It just, and bedding fish are the worst about that, getting it funky in their mouth whenever they're just moving it away or whatever it is they're doing.
Yeah, and that's
So
again, there's certain things. If you're taking a spinning rod, even with the braid or whatever, if you're taking a
Mhm.
spinning rod and you're throwing wacky Senko as far as you can throw it, and you have to do that in order to keep from spooking these fish, and that's the only way you can get them to bite.
Yep.
You can't get as good a hook set. It's science, it's
Right.
physics. You cannot get as good a hook set. You got a bow in your line, even low stretch braid, all that. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter. When you are clear at the end of your cast, you cannot get the same hook set that you get
Yeah, half that
10
distance.
feet from the boat.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or half that distance or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's just a chance you know going into it. Now, when you're living right,
Right.
as they say, you catch
Yep.
all those fish. When
Right.
it's your day, when it's your time, and we've all heard that, you catch all
Mhm.
those fish.
Yeah.
When it's not, although I feel like it sometimes, it's not bad luck. It's not poor me. God doesn't hate me,
Right.
and cause me to lose those fish. It's just the game we play. It happens to everybody. And some days you're on the good side of it. Sometimes you're not.
One of the things, and I'll say this to anybody that's watching, because there's been fewer and fewer co-anglers, and I think that's sad. And one of the reasons I think that's sad, especially in bedding tournaments where everybody complains, bedding fish were the old forward-facing sonar, and they're fishing for bedding fish, so I'm not going to get a chance to catch any fish. That may be true. I mean, that may be true. It's not. But I've fished with Chad Pro. I'll say who it was in Santee, and he's a Florida pro, really, really good bed fisherman, well known for it. I set my rod down and just watched him fish, asked him questions. He was great about, talking through what he was doing, why he was doing it. I learned more in one day about bed fishing than I had known my entire life up to that point. And that's something that you gain from being a co-angler in these events like that. You can learn years of experience in one day for $400. I encourage people to do that if they're struggling with bed fishing or something like that. I mean, part of the problem I have is seeing them. That's my biggest
we don't
problem.
bed fish. So
Well, we're in West Virginia where it's harder to bed fish. The season is, well, yeah, Ed's a very good bed fisher.
right, but we don't do that. We do not do that. So when I was out of state in a little bigger tournament, that was completely out of my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Either just completely out of my wheelhouse or out of my league. Maybe both.
That's usually wheelhouse. I mean, especially with bed fishing, it's different. And bed fishing smallmouth is way different than bed fishing largemouth too.
Agreed. And
And
spots are a whole different animal in themselves.
yeah, so
Location, catching them, everything about all three species. They're different things. And then I tell people this: every single fish on a bed is different. Don't think that because you figured out how to catch one that you know how to catch the other one. Where
yeah,
they're at in the spawn, and just they're just all different, and it's a matter of gathering information while fishing for them to figure out, okay, this one wants it laying on bottom, this one wants it crawling across the bottom, this one wants it popped in front of their face, this one wants it drugged from the left side of the bed to the right side, this one wants it from the right to the left. And those are all real things that you just
yeah,
have to be able
yeah,
to read the mood of the fish, see how each thing, and just keep trying more things until you put the puzzle together to get them to bite. And then there are some of them that
right. You're not going to catch.
you're just not gonna catch.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chad, one of the things that he talked about and showed me in some fish that he was catching is kind of flipping it into different parts of the bed until the fish will react to a certain, like, and it might be, you know, the size of a 50-cent piece, corner of a bed. And that's where they're going to attack whatever comes into that section or go eat it, whatever it is. And it's really, that's where they react. So you have to keep putting it in that same spot, which is impressive to do. And sometimes you have to cast past them to bring it into the bed versus it's just all sorts. But there's a lot to it and it gets complicated. And people that do it a lot, especially anglers in the South.
Okay, but you said you just put your pole down, right? So I take it you weren't getting to fish.
I mean, I could have fished. I could have fan casted out the back and all that, but I wanted to learn. I did that that was my
Okay,
own
if
deal.
you fan casted out the back, were you likely to catch a fish?
Let
Mm,
me let me answer that for him.
yeah,
Yes. Most of the time we fish buddy tournaments. We all grew up fishing buddy tournaments most of the time.
yeah,
And my co-angler, my partner, has caught more big ones just fan casting. A lot of times, especially if you're in an area with multiple bedders, which happens a lot,
right.
most of the time the fish that are on the beds are males and they're smaller than the females. There's usually a female within casting distance, especially if you're in a little cut or something that has multiple beds in it. There's most
Yeah,
likely a female or two or three or four or five or a pod of them swimming around waiting till the perfect time. The males are up there building the beds, but the females are usually within casting distance of where you have that boat. They're not easy to catch, but
right.
most of the time they're there. And forward facing sonar has proven that. That's what the forward facing guys, that's why they're catching these giant. I don't know if you've noticed, those guys are
Yeah,
catching giant
big.
bags in Texas
Yeah,
and Louisiana and at Eufaula. I mean, take south. And that's what he's doing. He's fishing for those fish that
hmm
co-angler could be catching out of the back of the boat if he knew what he's doing. If you had your own forward facing sonar back there while a guy was bed fishing, oh, it'd be I'm onto something when it comes to buddy tournaments. If you had a forward facing on like a turret or something of your own in the back of the boat while your buddy's up there bed fishing,
yeah. I saw
God,
two of those at Summersville this weekend. By
yeah.
the way, in our Bass Nation
Sounds like
fun.
you see that cooler on the back of the boat. It's not a cooler.
Yeah, flips it up. It's like a 12 or 16-inch graph inside
Okay.
In the
the
back
cooler.
that he's
Yeah,
using
yeah,
that he's using his own live scope on.
yeah,
So my point
Crazy.
though about you putting the pole down, you're talking about there not being
Oh,
as many co-anglers.
hmm
As a dedicated co-angler, I'm the reason for that is like the reason people are giving up co-angling. Yes, there are opportunities to learn, but at the end of the day, we all like to fish, how we like to fish, where we like to fish. And as a co-angler, that is completely taken out of your hands. So there might
well,
be some learning opportunity there, but I want to go to a rocky bottom and drag my jig. Period. End of discussion. So when somebody takes me out to the middle of the lake to fish suspended fish or what, I'm not having fun. At that point in time, I want my own boat because I want to go find some structure to drag my jig on. So the co-anglers of the world are just like, well, this stinks.
one trick ponies.
Okay, y'all are gonna get hit with my shrapnel again.
Why?
Because I might be a one-trick pony, but I did bring home $710 from
You did.
charity.
Oh, snap, Kevin.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Eee. Ooh,
That is brutal. But it's true.
3 turds.
It does.
I'm just saying, there I am with my 3
Yeah.
fishing poles and my jig.
Checks don't lie, do they, Julie?
I mean, they might, but
Big fish of the tournament, the Coahuila side.
yeah.
But you weren't fishing
Awesome.
grass. either.
Congratulations, by the way. Super
Oh,
congratulations. That's
thanks.
awesome.
Why would I fish grass? What?
Well, because you were fishing what you like to fish. You were fishing rocky stuff, dragging your jig around, right?
Yes, but
Yeah.
like on the second day when I kept like 57 times, my bait accidentally landed in a fish bed. And
Yeah.
I'm like, the fish just moved my bait. Like, I wanted to go fish what I was
Something different.
fishing the day before.
Yeah.
Of course, I can't say.
Right.
I mean, I think a lot of fishermen are one-trick ponies.
That's true.
Yeah.
There are a lot of fishermen who are.
Yeah.
And
And when
lot of them
I've
do
said that
okay.
for years, you have guys that are really good fishermen when the fish are where they like to fish, eating what they like to throw.
Yes, that's me.
There are a lot of really good fishermen than that. Yeah.
I do all right.
And
I
there's
mean-
nothing wrong with that.
No.
One of the things I tell younger people now that I'm one of the old guys, people get into tournament fishing and they ask me for advice. And the most important thing that I can tell you, and I've been on the other side of this, keep it fun. Enjoy
Yeah.
what you're doing. Don't get so caught up in the competition and winning and even in getting better that you quit having fun. Always have fun. And if you're not having fun, I can promise you, you're not going to do well in tournaments if you are taking it too serious and not enjoying what you're doing. I've been there. I've went through those struggles of what do you call it, working too hard or just being so result oriented that I
Not
just
not enjoying the moments.
Yes. So it first and foremost, enjoy this. None of us are doing this for a living. None of us are paying our bills with it so go enjoy it. And
I mean,
just
I like to
enjoy
win.
it.
I like to do well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Sure.
That's why we compete. But if it is so much about the winning that you can't enjoy, another perfect example is we've had those days. My buddy was talking about he's on Summersville and he caught like 50 some fish and only 2 of them were over 2 pounds. And it's like, it's frustrating, but daggone it. At the end of the day, if you catch 50 fish
Yeah,
and
you had
didn't
a good day.
have fun, yeah,
Right.
if you didn't have fun catching 50 fish because you finished, 45th or what, I don't know where you
Yeah.
finished, but
Right.
but you
Yeah.
caught 50 fish and you didn't have fun, then you really need to step back. And again, speaking from experience, you really need to step back and just reevaluate your whole mindset on fishing because it's going to get worse before it gets better. You can't have fun catching 50 fish.
Yeah, you
And
and I
not that,
last.
yeah, not that, and he told me, he said, I did have fun. I'm just giving you that as an example because I've been that guy who's caught 50 fish, finished middle to the bottom of the pack, maybe not catch a keeper, and just made myself miserable because
Right.
the
Yeah.
results weren't what I wanted.
Right.
And that's not what it's about.
Yeah. Well, you and I got into, we both fish Monday night bass over in Ravenswood, at the Ohio River. We talked about how great it is just to go fish Monday nights, hang out, see everybody, just go have fun. That's a good time.
Yeah.
That's the great thing about bass fishing, and it starts there at those weekly tournaments and all that. We have so much fun doing that, and that's where everybody begins, and you want to go back to that every once in a while, and it's just such a great feeling. So
Yeah.
back to Eufala, I have some questions.
Yes, sir.
You said you got over it pretty quick on the ride home. What's that process like for you? How do you put that finish behind you because it wasn't what you had hoped for? I know we talked before that tournament and you were excited about it. You really had circled that one. as like, hey, this is going to be the one? Number one, do you think having the expectation messed with you in any way? And number two, when you didn't meet the expectation, how do you put that past you on the ride home?
So I've played this game long enough and enough times. There's no sport more humbling than fishing because there is so much that is just completely out of your control. I, those slimy little green suckers have punched me in the face so many times. You
Amen.
know, it's like Rocky and the Russian. You just gotta get back up just like anything in life. God tests us and puts us through trials to make us stronger. It's that way with fishing. And you've done this long enough to know when you first started tournament fishing and you would get on them and things would go bad, gosh, it was hard to get over it. But
Yeah.
honestly, anymore, and it comes with maturity too. At the end of the day, it's just fishing. I've got a wife who says she loves me. Yeah, and she does. I have a wife that
Right.
loves me. I have 3 awesome kids. I'm so blessed to be able to go do what I do, and I sincerely mean that, and I'm so thankful for that. And that is like it really it's not that big a deal. Yeah, it's a lot of money. Yeah, it's this. Yeah, it's that. But it's not. Again, I'm blessed to be able to do it, and I enjoyed the crap out of it. Like I talked about before, I enjoy passing Terry Big Show Scroggins in a cove and saying, "Hey, man, what happened to them all? I don't know. Mine all disappeared." That
Yep.
that's awesome. And so when you don't get the results you want, and going back to that from years of not enjoying fishing because I wasn't getting the results I want to a 25-year learning process that it's okay. There will be more times like this, and there will be times 3 weeks later when everything goes really good. And
Right.
spoiler alert, you wake up
Yeah.
at 4:30 on a Saturday morning knowing that you're getting ready to go fish for $41,000 in Bassmaster Classic berth, and it's okay. It's okay. At the end of the day, you're still fishing. I still caught a bunch of 3.5 pounders that week and had an absolute blast, even though I was in the triple digit club. It was still fun. And that's what you have to
Yeah.
focus on and go on. Otherwise, why are we doing this? If it's going to make us miserable, why are we doing this? So,
I've seen a lot of
yeah,
guys where it does, though. It makes them
I,
miserable.
I've been
And I
there.
don't understand it.
I,
They just
I
absolutely 2 weeks later, they'll be dwelling on the fact that they had a bad event.
and the best advice I can give to you is pump those people up and tell them enjoy fishing. I try to tell every single person younger than me, even people older than me that maybe haven't been doing it as long as I have, or what, even if they have, it's fishing. Have fun fishing and try to emphasize that to everybody that I see to have fun fishing. There's not a better advice that I can give anyone. My kids, Wyatt and Logan, man, they take it hard when they don't get the results they want. And they're both super ultra competitive, but just remind them that, man, you're fishing. You have a bass boat, you have tackle, you have your health, you have the ability to go out and do what you love to do for catching fish, and it, it it'll be okay. And maybe if you can't compete, then just go fish and have fun. If it's
Hmm.
making you miserable, and I have contemplated stopping tournament fishing. It's been a while, but that 3, 4, 5 year mark when I couldn't really afford to do what I was doing anyway, and I was trapping myself. I enjoyed the competition, but it just wasn't going my way. And it was making me, I wasn't having fun fishing. I mean, just, I was not having fun fishing because of that. Messed with my Christian walk. It was not healthy for me. And God and I had a long conversation about whether or not I should still be fishing. Thank God here I am, but that was an eye opener for me. And from that point forward, I try to always encourage everyone, first and foremost, enjoy the fishing, not the competition, not the winning. Enjoy the fishing first, winning competition second and third.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's funny you say that because Julie and I, everybody knows we're partners, and we go to a tournament, and sometimes it works out. Sometimes, most of the time, it doesn't because that's tournament fishing. There's one winner usually, unless there's a tie. But I always make it a point, and it's always true. I had a lot of fun fishing with you today. We had a lot of fun. Maybe it didn't go our way, but we had a good time. Got to spend time together, got to enjoy company of friends and the camaraderie that goes along with it. And that's an important part of it, which is why the tackle companies will tell you, it's oftentimes the person that they want to sponsor is not always the person that's winning the most. It's the person that is happy to be there, showing up, can talk to, people and sell their product, because at the end of the day, that's what sponsors want, is product sales. Results are secondary. It gets the name out there so people recognize you so they can sell product. But it's being a good salesman and a good ambassador for their brand that matters most to them. I have talked to a lot of folks about that. So that's something for everybody to keep in mind, is sponsors don't want the guy that's breaking rods on the boat ramp and cursing life because he finished third, whenever there's a whole bunch of people standing there behind him that would be thrilled to finish third. So that's something that I always try to keep in mind when I have a good finish, but maybe not the best finish that I wanted, is I'm happy to finish where I did. And sometimes the bites just don't happen, or things happen and it doesn't go your way. There's always the next one. And for you, your next one was Norman. And I think now would be a good time to break so that we can talk about Norman in the next episode. I'm excited about that. I know we've discussed it a little bit, and I don't want to talk too much about it because it's always so much better when it's raw and coming out the first time, because it's exciting and everybody was excited for you. I think it would have been fun to have like a watch party at some point with Ed. If we could go and have signs, we should do that.
The Lake Norman event was the event, one event of each division they did not do a Bass Live on.
Oh, really?
And this was it. Yeah. Normally championship day is Bass Live, that you've got a camera. And I don't think they do all 10 bows. I have to look into that. I think they do
maybe.
top 6 or top 4. Yeah. Something like that, which again, don't want to get, probably everybody watching already knows. So I wouldn't have had a camera unless they did top 8. And I don't think they do, but it was still kind of ironic that the one event, listen, there's nothing you can do to ruin this experience for me. No cameras, no whatever. You can even come take the check back now. I already got what I wanted from it. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you get a trophy from it? You got a trophy, right? No trophy. Okay.
I do keep all my check stubs.
Oh, yeah.
All my national tournament check stubs I hang on to, just as kind of, maybe I'll do something with them one day. Maybe I won't. Maybe they'll still be
cool.
Stuck to my wall in my office.
Cool shadow box or something.
Yeah. And it's something I started when I got my first check in a national event because I was happy about it.
Oh, yeah. It's exciting. It's not easy to do. It's cool.
We're finished talking about Eufala.
We are.
And the next episode is going to be about Norman.
Yes.
And then the next episode is going to be about the business side.
Yep.
So
that's good.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap this up now for the Eufala portion. And then we'll be back again the next time, and we're going to talk Lake Norman. And then we want to do the business side of bass fishing.
Norman's going to take another full hour at least.
At least, I think. Yes.
We know this.
Yes.
And I'm glad. I want to hear every detail. I really do. So
I didn't think Eufala would take this song. I'm not going to lie.
You're a good storyteller, Ed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, and it's also, the one thing I like about it is results don't necessarily show how close you are to being. It's such a fine line, and it really is. And the further you go up the chain, the thinner that line gets between 1 and 30. I mean, it's just a couple of bad casts, some hooks that aren't sharp, and you're done.
I'm impressed at your resilience with putting it behind you, because I've spun out and I'm still not ever.
Don't get me wrong, and everyone who's ever fished with me has seen an Ed fit. I'm not saying that I always have fun while I'm out there. I'm saying I do get over it fast.
All right, we said what we were going to do. That's what we're going to do. So tune in real soon for
episode or part 2.
For tune in real soon for the Lake Norman tales.
There you go.
The tales of Lake Norman. The tales of Lake Norman.
Okay.
Ed's tales of Lake Norman. The tales of Lake Norman as told by Ed.
He's got a secret weapon there too that he just showed. It's not a secret anymore, but it was awesome.
Yeah.
I can't see.
Well, I got to see it in
don't-
real life.
wait, did
Remember, I said it looks like Ed's throwing a jig when he's in the cast of the picture. That's such a great picture. You need to get that picture blown up into a frame.
we're done. This podcast is now ended. Nothing we say from
Gotcha.
here on out is going in the final cut.